biggest games, the best performances, expert analysis. You are Locked On Now.
Hi, everyone. You are listening to Locked On Now, local experts on the biggest games around the NBA. I'm your host, Kim Becker, and thanks so much for making us your first listen every weekday with the help of our local Locked On NBA hosts who give you everything you need to know from last night in the association. Let's start with Thursday's biggest game.
The biggest game.
Jazz have now won 3 in a row after beating the Hawks 116-98, and reigning Western Conference Player of the Week, Rudy Gobert, had 13 points and 15 rebounds. Our Locked On Hawks host tells you what you need to know about the game.
Hello, friends. My name is Brad Rowland, coming to you from State Farm Arena in the aftermath of what became an 18-point loss for the Atlanta Hawks on this Thursday evening. It was a fairly competitive first half after an ugly first quarter by both teams. But in the second half, it was all Utah. In fact, the Jazz scored 77 points after halftime and more than 100 in the final 3 quarters. The defense just kind of collapsed for Atlanta. Offensively, it was nothing to be writing home about either, but really defensively, it kind of just let go of the rope a little bit for the Hawks in this spot. Even without Donovan Mitchell, the Jazz played very, very well, and the Hawks simply did not on this night. With this loss out of the way, the Hawks are now under 500 for the season through 9 games. No reason to panic just yet. The schedule is very difficult moving forward. The Hawks actually hit the road for a West Coast road trip that begins on Saturday in Phoenix, so the sledding will be tough, and we'll have much more coverage about the Hawks, this loss, and going forward on the Locked On Hawks podcast.
The Boston Celtics beat the Miami Heat 95-78, and Jaylen Brown had 28 of those points. Here is Locked On Celtics with more.
Hey there, John Corrales here after the Boston Celtics beat the Miami Heat. They what? Beat the Miami Heat 95-78. A huge response to recent drama. Even after a win in Orlando, all the talk was about this players-only meeting. Now they walked into Miami and put their best game of the season together. Very easily their most complete effort. And surprisingly, it included Aaron Nesmith and Romeo Langford. Nesmith had been buried on the bench, but he came out, gave the Celtics a ton of great energy. The Celtics struggled in the first quarter with shots falling short, coming off the back-to-back. That was understandable, but they stuck with it, played their best defense of the season. They really made Miami uncomfortable, and I think that led to a lot of Miami missed shots later. Miami was cold, and the Celtics just persevered. The real key here was when Miami made their run and cut it to single digits in the third quarter, the Celtics didn't cave. They responded and pushed it back out to an even third quarter and an 18-point lead, and they increased it in the fourth quarter. So we have now seen what the Celtics are fully capable of. They can do this. This is what they should look like. Can they keep it up? I'm going to talk about it on the Locked On Celtics podcast. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast and watch the show on YouTube.
And the Detroit Pistons fell to the Philadelphia 76ers 109-98. Here is our Locked On Pistons host with the recap.
What's the deal? Host of the Locked On Pistons podcast, Kuka Hill here. The Pistons lose another one tonight, fall to 1-7 by a score of 109-98 to the Philadelphia 76ers. However, I think this game was by far the most fun game of the season. Cade Cunningham scores 18 points, 10 rebounds, gets his first double-double of the season, adds on 4 assists. He did struggle shooting from the field again tonight, but a lot of these shots, you know, they're eventually going to start falling. So all in all, a really good game for Cade Cunningham. I feel like him and Killian Hayes exhibited really good chemistry out there. The team was at its best with both of them on the floor. They were both a team high, +7 and +6 on the court. Killian also had 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. They looked really good together. But yeah, the Pistons fall short. We're going to talk about what we saw from Cade Cunningham and the rest of the team on tomorrow's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
That's a wrap for us here today. I am your host, Kim Becker. Thank you so much for making Locked On Now your first listen every weekday morning. And for more on the NBA and your team, make your second listen Locked On NBA and your local Locked On podcast. Locked On, your team every day.